when the narrative of Pakatan Harapan and PKR then was very much about betrayal, about getting back to Putrajaya, it was getting further and further away from a normal person's life. There were a series of announcements about we're going to take over and we have the number, and then it didn't happen. When Sheraton move happened, I think there was an explosion of anger towards Azmin, towards Bersatu, towards UMNO, and so on. And then if you recall, it happened more or less together with the first lockdown. So very quickly, the public focus was more about how life was very difficult for them. And I think that's where the first spotlight happened, which was when the narrative of Pakatan Harapan and PKR then was very much about betrayal, about getting back to Putrajaya. It was getting further and further away from a normal person's life. There were a series of announcements about we're going to take over and we have the number, and then it didn't happen. I always say this, hope is a dangerous thing, because hope, can bring to disappointment, and disappointment kills. And that's more or less what happens when we describe about PH and PKR and the public for the last 2 years. There was hope that things would change, and as we went from Sheraton move up to now, people were hoping for something. Every now and then, their hope was brought up and then went down. And every time it went down, more and more people feel that, all politicians, and that's a danger. The word is all politicians just care about them. Just care about their positions, who's going to be minister. It's never about us, because whoever becomes government, my life is going to be like this. And the moment they think like that the moment they think that all political coalitions are the same, they usually stick to the product that they've known all this while, which was UMNO, because it doesn't make any difference anyway. So the tougher question is that, okay, what do we do now? I think first and foremost is that I think we have to accept the diagnosis that has happened, and this is what the public thinks about us. Listen to them, and we acknowledge that it was a mistake. So the less defensive PKR and Pakatan Harapan are, the better. It begins with that. It's like you break someone's heart. Again, so you can't go on being defensive. It's not my fault. It's someone else's. It's this. You can't. You have to try to persuade them. You know what? Start with that diagnosis. That be humble and accept that things did not go as we planned. Then you can start winning their confidence back. And what they want to see is that, number one, they want to see solution. Prior to 2018, it was enough to just point out BN's fault, because PH was never a government. So it was quite easy to become an opposition then. It was enough to say this minister was stupid. Things are very different now, because PH was the government for 22 months. So if you say that this minister was incompetent, then the public will ask, well, you were in government for 22 months and you did exactly the same. So if you say that some MPs were arrogant from UMNO, then they will point out, yeah, but your MP was also arrogant. So things are very different now. So it's not enough to say we are better because we are not corrupt. It doesn't fly anymore. The good thing about 2018 and then the change of government is, it empowers the voters. The voters are now telling all the politicians, you know what, we expect a better standard. They actually expect you to come up with a solution. How are you going to do it differently? And not only that, they want you to see, to try to push your idea all the way to completion. So if you think that certain things are not right, it's not enough to just issue one press release or to just tweet once and say, I've done my job. and they want to see ideas, completion, they want to see passion, they want to see competency. So I think PKR and PH have to realize that we are operating on a completely different terrain now. If we still think that it's enough to wear our PH or PKR cap and automatically we feel we are better than BN or PN, we are in trouble. So things are going to be like that. So unless PKR and PH push up the standard to another level, then we will have a problem to differentiate our offering to the fence sitters, and we may not be out of the woods soon enough by the time G50